a 128-pound black Cane Corso, a charge nurse living alone in a house that had too many rooms, and a Thursday night at 3:22 a.m. that an electrician later said could have ended a completely different way. Her mother had 14 reasons this dog was a mistake. Every neighbor agreed, but in a quiet house in Columbus, Ohio at 3:22 in the morning, Rocco was the only one in the room who already knew something was wrong, and he had no intention of letting her sleep through it. Megan Harper had a list. She was 31 years old, recently relocated to Columbus, Ohio for a new position as a charge nurse at a pediatric hospital, and she had a list, a typed, printed 14-point list of reasons she should not get a Cane Corso. Her mother had made it, laminated it, taped it to Megan's refrigerator with 2 magnets so it would be the first thing she saw every morning. Megan read it carefully, then she drove to Ridgecrest Kennels anyway. She had wanted a dog her entire life. Not a small one, not a manageable one, the kind of dog that made strangers give her a second glance when she walked down the street at night. She had done her research. Cane Corsos, ancient Italian mastiffs bred to hunt wild boar and guard estates from things that moved in the dark. Fiercely loyal, deeply protective, widely misunderstood. She wanted exactly that. A guardian, something that would make the empty house feel less like something was missing from it. What she got was a 128-pound, all-black Cane Corso named Rocco, who decided within 7 minutes of entering her house that every closed door in the building was a personal declaration of war. The first week was a very specific kind of chaos. Rocco followed Megan into the kitchen when she made coffee at 6:30 in the morning, into the laundry room when she ran a load before work, into the bathroom when she brushed her teeth, pushing the door open with the full weight of his head and sitting down on the bath mat like a sentient boulder who had been assigned to this exact post. She tried closing the door. He sat outside it and released a single long exhale that traveled under the door frame and reached her from 4 feet away. It sounded like a disappointed grandfather who had seen this kind of behavior before and was tired of it. She gave up on the second day. She tried to take a work call in the bedroom. Rocco sat outside the closed door for 6 minutes. Then he pushed it open, walked in, positioned himself at her feet, and stared at the phone like it was personally responsible for keeping them apart. By the end of week 1, she had surrendered every room she owned. The couch belonged to Rocco. He had established this on day 1 by climbing onto it, rearranging all 3 cushions with his face until they met some internal standard she would never fully understand, and lying down with the settled finality of someone who has just signed a property deed. The couch sank 4 inches on contact. Megan stood in the living room doorway and stared for a long moment. She had bought a proper dog bed, orthopedic foam, oversized, reinforced edges, expensive enough that she had hesitated at the register. She placed it in the corner with a folded blanket. Rocco looked at the bed, he looked at the couch, he looked at Megan. He did not move. Dinner became a 2-party event. Rocco positioned himself to Megan's left at the kitchen table every single evening, chin resting on the table edge, eyes tracking every forkful from plate to mouth with the focused intensity of a food critic who had not yet decided whether to be polite about it. He generated a drool puddle below his chin, the approximate size of a dinner plate. Without fail, every single night, Megan started keeping a roll of paper towels on the table before she sat down. Her co-workers at the hospital thought she had lost her mind. Her friend Dana said she was one bad day away from being in the news. Her mother called on a Tuesday and asked if she regretted the list. Not the whole list, she said, even just one item. Megan said no and changed the subject. Her neighbor, a retired teacher named Carol, stopped her on the front walk one morning and said quietly, "That dog is going to be trouble. I can see it just looking at him." Her son had a dog 1/4 that size and it destroyed their garage. Megan smiled. "He's actually very gentle." Carol looked at Rocco. Rocco looked at Carol with the calm, absolute certainty of a dog who had heard this conversation at least a dozen times and long since stopped finding it worth his attention. Carol went back inside. Rocco watched her go. Then he looked up at Megan with an expression she had started to recognize as something close to patience. But here is what nobody tells you about Cane Corsos. Beneath the broad forehead and the deep wrinkles and the chest that looks like it was designed to stop something far larger than an intruder, there is a mind operating on a frequency most people never bothered to tune into. Rocco had been reading Megan since the moment she walked through the door of Ridgecrest Kennels. He had been paying attention to things she hadn't noticed herself yet.
3 weeks after the adoption, Megan came home from a 14-hour shift in the pediatric ICU. She had lost 2 patients in 1 week. She walked through the front door, dropped her bag on the hallway floor without turning on the lights, and stood completely still for a full minute without knowing what to do next. Rocco came in from the living room. He didn't jump, he didn't bark, he pressed the full weight of his 128-pound body against her legs and held completely still. They stood in the dark hallway together for 11 minutes.
Then Megan slid down the wall and sat on the floor. Rocco lay down beside her, his enormous head resting on her knee, and stayed there without moving until she did. She had worked in pediatric medicine for 7 years. She had learned how to hold herself together in the hallway, in the elevator, in the parking garage, in the car on the way home. She had a system. She had learned to keep things sealed until she was somewhere private. The problem was that private had started to mean alone, and alone had started to feel like a place she was spending too much time. Rocco showed her there was a difference. If you've been watching this far and still haven't subscribed, I'll be honest, that stings a little. Hit that subscribe button. You're gonna want to see what comes next. After that night, a routine appeared without anyone designing it. Every morning at 6:20, Rocco would position himself at Megan's bedroom doorway and sneeze. One single, enormous, full-body sneeze that shook his entire face and reverberated off the hallway walls like something structural had shifted. Her alarm clock, non-negotiable, more effective than anything battery-operated she had ever owned. Every evening, no matter how late Megan came home from the hospital, Rocco was at the front door with one item in his mouth. Not a toy, not a rope, her right shoe. Always the right one, never the left. Placed at her feet the second she crossed the threshold, as though this were a secret contract he had drafted unilaterally and expected both parties to honor indefinitely. Megan started looking forward to the shoe. Carol saw them on a Sunday morning walk 6 weeks later and stopped on the sidewalk. "He seems calmer than I expected," she said. Rocco sat down, looked at Carol, and wagged his tail twice. Megan didn't say anything. She didn't need to. But the moment that changed everything happened 4 months after the adoption. On a Thursday night in January, Megan came home from a late shift, ate dinner at 10:30, and fell asleep on the couch with 128 pounds of Cane Corso across her legs by 11. At 3:22 a.m., Rocco stood up. Not the slow, heavy repositioning she had learned to sleep through. He was on his feet before she fully registered the motion, standing in the middle of the living room, completely still except for a low sound vibrating deep in his chest that she had never heard from him before. She sat up. She didn't smell anything. She didn't hear anything. Rocco walked to the kitchen doorway and stopped. He looked at her. Then he looked toward the back of the kitchen, then at her again. He did not bark, he did not move, he simply waited for her to follow. Megan stood up and followed him. She smelled it before she saw it. Something sharp, something electrical, something that had no business being in a kitchen at 3 in the morning. Behind the refrigerator, where the appliance met the wall, a wire had been burning slowly through its casing. Not a fire yet, not quite. A thin, scorched line and a smell that Rocco had been tracking for some time before Megan had any idea something was wrong. The electrician who came the next morning looked at the wiring and went quiet for a moment before he spoke. He said the wire had been failing for weeks. He said had it continued another 30 minutes, the wall would have been involved. He said he had seen this before, and he said it does not always end the way this one did. Megan stood in her kitchen at 7:50 a.m. with the electrician's card in her hand and looked at Rocco, sitting in the doorway. The same dog her mother had listed 14 reasons to avoid. The same 128 pounds that Carol called trouble on a sidewalk 4 months ago. Rocco put his chin on the kitchen floor and looked up at her with the quiet, settled confidence of a dog who had known exactly what he was doing all along. Today, Rocco is 3 years old. He still owns the couch. He still sneezes at 6:20 every morning without exception. He still brings the right shoe every single evening Megan's car pulls into the driveway. The drool situation at dinner has been formally accepted as a permanent and non-negotiable feature of the household. Megan stopped putting the paper towels away between meals. Megan's mother visited last month. She sat on the couch next to Rocco for an hour and a half with her hand resting on his back and did not say a single word about the list. At one point, she looked over at Megan and said simply, "I understand now." Megan didn't say anything. She just nodded.
Megan doesn't come home to silence anymore. She comes home to 128 pounds of loyalty, a shoe that is never where she left it, a 4-inch dent on the couch, and a dog who reads the world on a frequency she is still learning to hear. When your dog stands at a doorway and refuses to move, believe him. They are reading things we lost the patience to notice a long time ago. That is their world. Trust it, respect it. And if someone hands you a 14-point list of reasons not to get a dog like this, read it carefully, then make your own decision. Because sometimes the ones the world calls too much are exactly the ones who come home with you and make sure you stay. Rocco didn't need 14 reasons. He just needed Megan to open the door. Would you trust a 128-pound Cane Corso that most people cross the street to avoid? Tell me in the comments.